Electricast.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
McDonald's meets the Minecraft universe with one of 6 collectibles and your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets with spicy Nether Flame sauce. Now available with a Minecraft movie meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time, a Minecraft movie only in theaters.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Missing the Point. It's your go-to sports podcast. You want both me and Ray in your ears for your listening pleasure. And that's what you got. It's me. It's Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan. It's the Power Ranking show moving, morphing, manipulating itself into the playoff show. And fine playoffs, I think we're having so far, Ray. I think I have some issues. Especially right around the Saturday games. I was displeased with the product on Saturday, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Maybe you were too, maybe not. First and foremost, longtime listeners to this show will remember that I am a fan of the much maligned Chicago Bears football organization, and we fired our coach mid-season. If you missed that, we probably did a show about it. Just rewind. Today, the Chicago Bears did something I thought was impossible. They made the obviously correct choice in a personnel hire, in a coaching hire over there at Hallis Hall. Similar to what I was saying, I mean, I find it so funny that we do a show. I mean, maybe this is just us looking for parallels, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of them. I find it so funny that we do a show about the NFL. I happen to be a fan of the Chicago Bears. You happen to be a fan of the New England Patriots. The amount of overlap in our situations, and yet we really haven't gotten in each other's way as of yet. It sort of feels like both organizations went and got their man. I was on pretty firm record that my first personal choice for the Bears was Vrabel. The idea that a head coach could come in that's been there before, that has sort of pedigree and precedent about the culture that he sets, et cetera, all the superlatives, all the cliches that you hear about leader of men, setting culture, all this stuff. That's the stuff I wanted from Mike Vrabel. For a while, I switched over. I was like, maybe I'm convinced, but Ben Johnson's the guy. It's exciting. He's an offensive coach. He's gonna lay down the very fun Detroit Lions offense that we've all been watching, I think, over the past couple of years. But yeah, the Bears did the obvious thing, Ray. They went and got their man. They hired Ben Johnson. I also haven't heard your thoughts on this show. I heard your show with Mike about the Vrabel hiring. So if you'd like to mix in the cocktail when you tell me your first thoughts about the Ben Johnson hire, please, by all means. But I do find it funny that we have such parallels in our teams. We're not looking for quarterbacks in the draft. Where we both have guys going into year 2, which is exciting. We both have a significant amount of cap space. We both have picked top 10. We both just hired a new coach that we're happy about. I think both of us. And I mean the parallels are crazy considering how long we've been doing this show. The roads are really like just lining up symmetrically. So what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
So, I guess I'll speak to the Vrabel thing first. If that's the thing that happened first.
Sure, I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I think it's a great hire for you guys.
Well, a lot of us here were clamoring for Ben Johnson because, it was supposed to be something fresh, something new, something away from the old Patriot regime. I think people felt that Vrabel was going to be still somewhat tied to how they used to do it, and we talked about it. Right, we did speak about how it is something that would be comfortable for Robert Kraft to hire Vrabel. That being said, he's not a part of the Belichick coaching tree. He did play for him, so it is a little different.
There is a sort of chromosomal link, though.
Yeah,
he's not really part of the coaching tree, but he was like in the guard.
Yeah, for sure. So it's just like that matters, obviously. So I think that's what turned some people off, and then obviously his hiring made him attached to McDaniels and, the NFL and, well, not really the NFL per se, but the people that follow the NFL were upset with how the Patriots went about this hire. Said this was the first time that something was circumvented when it came to hiring, but that's a whole other topic another day. But yeah, listen.
What's the deal with the offensive coordinator? Is it looking like it's going to be?
I think that they like Vrabel has been saying in his press conferences that they have a long list. I think people were looking at Liam Cohen from Tampa. Obviously, people were looking at giving Ben Johnson like the highest amount of money to be an OC. But he obviously was at a point in his career where he was looking to be the guy, and I'm glad that he went and cashed in when the time was right, because he did. So congrats to him. But yeah,
a lot of Lions at him. We should address that too. I've been reading a lot of Lions hate for that choice.
Liam Cohen in Tampa. I know. Well, Patrick Graham has got an interview today as we speak with the Jaguars. So is Liam Cohen and also Robert Saleh. Jacksonville is all giving them second interviews for their head coaching role. So one of those will be two of those will be the odd man out, obviously. So maybe they get one of those to be in the coordinator role. But yeah, I don't know what's taking so long for that. I do think it's McDaniels. I think that they're just trying to get smoke and mirrors to make it seem like they went through an arduous process in order to get their coordinator. And I honestly, I don't care. Once again, we've joked about that on the show, calling him Jesu Josh. So much so that we have merch on our show, mtpshow.com, where you can get the shirt that says Jesu Josh on there. So we'll be right back in business if he comes there, if he comes back. So that's that. But yeah, either way, I like the hire. I think that he's going to be an adult in the room, and that's a term that gets used a lot, but I think that that's something where he's going to be very helpful. So I like that. I just want them to be more decisive of who they hire and how they draft. And I said that will come with time. But to your point, or to your new coach in Chicago, I mean, listen, he was definitely the most sought after guy across the board. Like, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. His mind for offensive football is top tier. So those that are a Chicago fan, those that are just a solely a Caleb Williams fan, should be over the moon, excited, should be. And the games that I was thinking that was going to happen this season, when I said he was going to have a Cam Newton type start, I'm doubling down on that right now, and I'm telling you, the leap from year one to year two. I'm not saying he's winning MVP. I'm not putting it out there, but they're damn sure going to the playoffs. Like, I'm booking that early right now. Put it on, 1,500 to 1, whatever odds you want to put on. I'm booking that Chicago goes to the playoffs.
It's an interesting topic of conversation for me that you're bringing up, because like I really have mostly today, and I haven't had a ton of time to really sit with the Ben Johnson hire, to be honest. It only really, as to time of recording, it only really got official, like 4 hours ago when Schefter dropped it. So I've had 4 hours to think about it. And I think the thing I've thought about the most is what you're talking about. What are now my expectations going into next season? And I think the first thought that pulled up in my head was how many of these off seasons I've spent with you guys on this show.
Yeah.
Getting too excited about the Bears, like thinking Justin Fields is going to be the guy, thinking like the wide receiver room was like the best, bordering on the best one in the league on paper, thinking Caleb Williams was like, generational talent. I mean, I still sort of think this, but, thinking he was going to have like, a much more electrifying start to the season than he did, much as you did. I have to temper my expectations now. Like, I give the whole thing a 6.5 because it's just like, it's still the Bears, like it's just, I don't want to fall from that height again, because then I'm 3 or 4 games in and I'm just devastated because my expectations were so far from being met,
Yeah. But like you said though, right? You said they did the obvious right thing, right?
That is the thing that makes
this seems to be the first time in a while that they didn't reach for a hire. It was a reach for Eberflus. It was a reach for, for Nagy. Like, so they're just like, yo, we're getting a guy that we have seen his offense come to fruition. And yes,
we played against him 3 times a year.
We dubbed the wonderful nickname of the Monsters of the Midway. And yes, do we still want that identity? Yes, we want the days of Atlanta Briggs. We want the days of Alex Brown. We
Of
want the
course,
days of Brian Urlacher. We want the days of Mike Brown and
of
R.W.
course.
McCoy and Peter Tillman. We want those days, right? And that's the beauty of this show, right? We know enough about each other's teams that we can just rip off names from the
Yeah,
past and be like, oh, like, so is he really a fan of the Patriots or the Bears? No, I'm just a football
right.
fan in general. But to shift the focus and now, like, okay, Swift should be excited. Obviously Keenan Allen now should be excited. DJ Moore should be excited. Cole Kmet should be excited. That whole offense in general should be excited. Roman Duze obviously should be excited. So they're hiring a guy that's going to say, hey, yes, we're going to still try to focus on defense and be where we've been in the past, but we're going to be explosive on offense. And if you're coming into Soldiers Field, you better look to put up 30, because if not, you're going home with an L. And I think
That's crazy though. To think a Bears team could ever have that sort of DNA is the other crazy part of it, right? Like, not only like to the start of your point into the overall thing, like not only is it a situation where we haven't ever seen the Bears make a move like this, right? Go and get, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, and people can do revisionist history if you're mad, if you're a Raiders fan right now and you're mad, and you want to do revisionist history on this, that's totally fine. But if we're really being honest, the top two candidates this year for coaching in the offseason were Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. That's just how it was. That's just how everybody perceived it. Clearly how teams perceived it, because they're the first two guys hired, right? So, it's like, right, am I forgetting about someone as another?
No. I mean, that's it, because like I said, the Raiders are still looking for somebody.
I think
Right.
they thought they were going to get Johnson. I really
Yeah,
did.
the Jaguars still looking for somebody, and then depending on what happens this weekend, and we'll get into that. They could be opening, at Lincoln Financial as well. So
Also, and also Dallas and
Dallas, right? Yeah, correct. Yeah. So
yeah.
yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. It's what I would have wanted them to do, is to go out and get the best available guy. It's just, if you add up all the factors, he just is the best available guy. Now,
Right.
what do you make of the other side of it? I mean, there was a lot of, just to touch on this briefly, there was a lot of vitriol spit towards Ben Johnson, and the kind of narrative theme that emerged, I noticed in the annals of the Lions fan base. And this isn't representative exactly of like all their shit, like all their people, but first it was he wasn't paying attention and this will bring us nicely into the conversation about the weekend's games, but it's he wasn't paying attention, he didn't care, he was out to lunch, he didn't it didn't matter to him, this potential trip to a conference championship.
Right.
Like what he was already thinking about coaching the Bears. And then that combined with, I don't even think he was that good of a coordinator anyway. There was a lot of that online today.
Yeah,
I don't even think he was that good anyway.
Yes.
And I just
listen, that's it. I mean, this is not the same thing, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm making a comparison, but this is the first thing that came to mind. I remember when Brady left to go to Tampa, and there was folks in their minds that firmly believed that he was washed and done, and that he would never surpass what he did here. Or not that he did, obviously, but like, oh, he's not winning down there, he's not going to do as long as he, like, it was him and Bell, and right. And
it was pretty surprising that he, quite honestly, it was pretty crazy that he did go down there and win that.
It was what I'm saying, but it was just like, he was the most driven athlete we've seen in our era.
Yeah.
And we thought that he was just going to fall off the face of, like, that's insane to me. Like, a bunch of y'all listen to Max Kellerman and you got duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, whatever word you want to use. Like, insane. It's funny. Max Kellerman not on TV, but now Brady is. Imagine that. So, who really fell off the cliff? But, hey, I just had to put that out there.
I think Max Kellerman flew too close to the sun. I think if he stayed in the world as a boxing, I think he would have a long and respected career.
He'd be awesome. But needless to say, back on what you were saying, I think that it's coping 101. It's coping 101. You guys are hurt. So hi TT. That's my homie in Detroit. We haven't talked since Saturday. You're probably mad because you felt like I jinxed your team. I didn't. I thought y'all was going to win. I did. We did not expect to see South Florida's own Teddy Bridgewater. We'll get into that, but that was crazy. But to the Ben Johnson thing, listen, man, it's coping 101. Like, fans are upset. Once again, you go to a division rival. It's not like he went to Miami or he went here to New England or he went to Dallas or he went to the rate. Like he went to a division rival. Like, so it's just like, whoa, now we have to see his offense twice a year. They probably are going to at the least split with us going into next season. And now things are going to be harder for us within our division than it was before. So when you got two teams that won 15 games, another team that won 11, and then you have you guys that are going to be on the rise next year, they're pissed. They're pissed. They have not had football superiority, superior football, excuse me, in the years that we've been alive. Yes, they had a great guy in Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Lomas Brown. Lomas Brown. But then they had the years of Joey Harrington and Dan Orlovsky and Charlie Rogers, and it was bad. It was bad. It was brown paper bag type football up there until they got my guy Matt Stafford. So yeah, I think like they're learning to cope. They're mad, and it's gonna suck when Caleb come in there and throw 5 touchdowns.
It's tough, man. I mean, just in talking about that game.
You can be calm today. I'm talking shit for you. No, I said you can be calm today. I'm gonna talk the shit for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do, because it's like it's hard. It's hard. They always seem to find a way to fuck it up. And let's move on to talk about the Commanders. I would say surprise win over the Detroit Lions.
Sure.
I was pretty confident that the Lions were going to win that game. And I was rooting for them, in all honesty. I wanted them to win. I wanted to see what they could do in an NFC championship game and scenario. I wanted to see them play elite football at that level. This was a game where, in comparison to its one of its AFC counterparts, when you think about the Bills-Ravens game, that had like absolute, it's like later in the day, feels like an AFC championship game. It feels like two teams that could be at the level of an AFC championship game. It feels like all the stakes, 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks going up against each other. Not the case with the Lions Commanders game. With that one, it was more like, oh no, like the Lions are really just going to let them do whatever they want on offense for the whole day. That's what's actually going to happen. And I want to know, because I think everybody's immediate reaction was sort of, man, like Jayden Daniels is a problem, which I think is completely fair and true. I think the things that he did were really impressive. How much blame, and since we're talking about this in the context of the Lions at first, how much blame would you say lies at the feet of the Lions defense, Dan Campbell, the sort of the whole thing? I understand there was a lot of injuries throughout the season. I understand they lost their best pass rusher. I mean, that's just true. But I don't know, man. Like, they got fucking dog walked. And I feel like if it was a different sort of context, if we weren't talking about the rookie and how exciting it is that he's making it this far, because that's always going to be the number one headline, right? Like every year, if a rookie QB or a young QB that nobody's really had time to like form opinions about starts to play at a really high level, it's immediately the biggest headline. I mean, this is what I was talking about in the Discord. It's like the CJ Stroud hype, like that he's a good QB. Like, it remains to be seen the heights he's going to hit. Talking about him in like definitive terms, even now, after 2 seasons, is like, I don't know. I mean, it's, a sophomore slump can happen, and he can bounce back, no problem. And then like the same thing with the overreaction to Darnold all season. It's like everybody just loves in today's day and age to overreact to QB performances in games. And I think that I'm not trying to take anything away from Jayden Daniels. In fact, I'm trying to stick up for the kid, because I think it's a little unfair, the weight of expectation people are going to put on him. Because what happens now if he crumbles? What happens now if he blinks in the lights of a championship game, which is completely fair and plausible for it to happen to a rookie, right? There's a reason you've never seen a rookie make it to the Super Bowl and win. It's very, very difficult for that to happen. I think we're far away from that scenario, but did he go out there and show that he's going to be like the next big thing? Or did the Lions really lay a fucking egg with that defense?
I mean, I think it's a mix of both. I mean, when you come in and throw 22 or 30, a little under 300 yards, and then you run for 50, he's in complete control of the game. And he has complete trust in that locker room. They said, we're running with 5 regardless. And to think about where they were, a season before, going 4-13, to be in position to draft him, riding the coattails of Sam Howell, getting rid of Eric Bieniemy, who I know was brought up on last week's show, and I'll get into that later on if I need to. the transformation has been complete. They got rid of like 16 or 17 guys on their roster. You bring in Dan Quinn, you have new ownership. So they're playing inspired football. And what happens is sometimes, certain players just galvanize other people. And the thing is, and it's not just the game against y'all, like he had been showing up in moments late all year. And yes, part of that is you need luck. You need a team to kind of fold in those moments like that. Of course, that's true. Like that, two things can be true. But to put yourself in that position where you're able to at least tie the game or win the game, that matters. And yeah, this could be the best rookie season we've seen since Mahomes in 2018, because Mahomes was the AFC Championship game away from getting to the Super Bowl. So that's the most recent comparison, obviously. Is he better than Mahomes and other? Obviously, he's not. But it's definitely the best rookie season since then. Absolutely, that's not debatable. Even like I said, once again, regardless of the outcome on Sunday, like that's amazing what he's been able to do.
No, of course. I mean, the thing is, I'm not trying to take anything away from.
Oh no, I know. I'm speaking to the fans that like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like to have an 8-game turnaround, or really 10-game turnaround, because you won 2 games in the playoffs, so they've won 14 games this season. It's amazing to see where they've gone. But to the point about the Lions, this is on Aaron Glenn as much as anybody else. And I made a wild comment about Aaron Glenn in our Discord, but I won't repeat. But it's just like, I didn't call him by his name, but it's just, I'm saying, but it was just like, like, you had the audacity to not want to take the news out because you thought it was a sham that you would get interviewed. And then now, your defense gets exposed and you're at the helm of that. I bet you would take interviews now. Like, I bet you be doing that now. So it's just like, that to me was wild. And yeah, they lose to Meek Robinson, in the middle of the game too. Like, that was hard because he had been in that corner all year. But and I hear you on the Hutchinson thing. Like, I appreciate you bringing that caveat. But I'm sorry, they wasn't bringing up Hutchinson when they were smacking everybody throughout the regular season. They wasn't. It was like one pride, what up, though? Like they were saying it all year. So you can't have it both ways. You play who's in front of you. Everybody was hurt. People had key guys out all year or majority of the year. They still had a phenomenal season, regardless of how it looked. They should at least I think they should at least got to the AFC Championship game. But hey,
it's a regression, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a regression. I mean, if they didn't get to they got to the championship game and lost in, I would call it, heartbreaking fashion last season, and then to lose now in the divisional round, I think is, I think it's going to feel like a regression, because then on top of it, you lose your one, maybe both. I mean, I know you're right. He did sort of get exposed, but I still think there's going to be jobs out there for him if he wanted to be a head coach. Mm-hmm. I do think like you might lose both your coordinators, and there might be a little bit of a pallor or a feeling that, the Dan Campbell window might be starting to be less spoken.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. I mean, I think that he say if this is next year and they go, let's say 12-5 or 13-4, and they lose in a wild card, right? Which should be another regression, right? Because you lost in the first round. He would absolutely be the number one head coach on the market. Like, teams will line up, but it'd be
a Vrabel situation. It'd be a shock firing. But I wonder, I guess if they stick with him, then you start to get a McCarthy Tomlin situation where it's like everybody's on those two guys all the time about like when they last won a playoff game, and it's like, well, you win one or two, it's like it's starting to feel like the ceiling.
So yes, to an extent, but I'd say, and once again, you know more intricately than me because you follow that division. But I think about guys like Bobby Ross. I think about guys like Jim Schwartz. I'm trying to think who else has been over there. Jim Caldwell, who got fired prematurely. I can't think of any other coaches they've had, but in the time frame. But they've had a gauntlet of coaches run through there. He's by far their best coach in recent memory.
Your guy who is both your coordinators. What's his name?
Oh yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, sorry, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, it couldn't get any worse than that.
Yeah, we can't get worse than that, right? Exactly. So it's important to build continuity, which is why I think we see Tomlin there forever. We saw Mark McCarthy there for a long amount of time, even in Green Bay as well. You want to build that program that when people come into there, they know what's happening every day and every week when they come into the building. So there is something to be said about that and something to be desired in that regard. But at the same time, it's a results-based business. And in the words of Big Daddy King, you got to get the job done. I'll work, baby. Like if you ain't getting work done, it's time to go. Because we're going to talk about another coach about that in a minute, how I feel about that too. So sometimes things get stale and you have to move on. But it's an intricate thing to kind of find out how. Well, it's a fine-tooth comb. Like it's hard to figure out how to, see who needs to be there for a long term, who needs to be let go. How do you know if you need a voice, stuff like that. So it's hard, but that's why they get paid the millions of dollars to do it.
Yeah. Thinking about it really quick from the Washington Commanders perspective, obviously they're riding incredibly high right now. I think that they should be very proud of themselves for the season they put together. When the Hail Mary happened against my Chicago Bears, I looked at my wife and I was, she was looking at me with deep concern in her eyes, obviously, because it was one of the more traumatic moments of my life, to be honest, that Hail Mary. And I looked at her and I said very candidly, we're never going to recover from that. There's no world in which our season recovers from them. And that was 100% true. With the exception of the final game against Green Bay that we actually won, 1-0 against the Packers in 2025, Caleb Williams undefeated at Lambeau Field. The only NFC North team to have won a game in 2025. So that's been pretty nice because they all crashed. Yeah. So if you look at the data a certain way, if you Mike Marcangelo the data, it can make you feel really good. I think. Can't wait to talk about that in a little bit. I think we should be fair to Mike, to be honest, because I do think it sort of landed in the middle. It was like a coin landed on its edge, but. I think
he's ecstatic how this weekend went, but we'll get into that. He's ecstatic.
yeah. That's exciting. Love that guy. Shout out Mike. The Washington Commanders, I think, like they're ahead of schedule at this point, right?
Absolutely.
The way I want to frame the question to you, I guess, is if the Washington Commanders somehow beat the Eagles and then beat either the Bills or the Chiefs. So let's say if they beat the Eagles and then somehow beat the Chiefs, where does that rank in all time, like Super Bowl wins? Like, I mean, the amount of things that go into the story, if that happens, you have to start to think about it. Rookie QB, a team that was dog shit for a million years, terrible owner, new owner takes over, right? Bring in a guy who needs a redemption arc in the Super Bowl because he was on the other side of like the worst one, right? I would say probably the worst one. As far as like, being a head coach goes, like the head coach and the QB got their reputational heads chopped off that day. The entire league, us, the media, fans, looked at both of them like they were a joke. And I think that DQ sort of battling back to this level in this position just goes to show like a little bit of zoom out is really important, right? Like to really look at these things and look at the body of work, right? For guys like him. And I think it's already really impressive. I think you can lay the superlatives on them at this point already. I mean, I think a very underrated Terry McLaurin, like just constantly shouted on this show, is like incredibly, incredibly underrated. A hugely entertaining quarterback to watch. Like the way that he plays, the casual nature of his demeanor when he runs that offense, the unflappable nature of his game. Is really fun to watch. It genuinely is. It's just, it's awesome and it's combined with a great deep ball and like a ton of movement. The guy's just like, I mean, I haven't used him in Madden, but I bet it's a lot of fun. And I think, I just pick the Bears every time. So, and I have pointers for Caleb if he wants to know, because I'm really doing my homework this offseason and on the playbook, on everything we're bringing to the table.
Love
but
that.
Everything that I'm saying about the Commanders, I think is true. And if you look at it from an X's and O's perspective, it looks great. If you look at it from a locker room perspective, it looks great. If you look at it from a momentum perspective, it looks great. There's a lot of good football minds in the room. I think the way that the offense is in the Kingsbury situation is set up, you can look at him the same way, much maligned in a lot of circles, but these guys that go on to get head coaching jobs, I mean, it's sort of an old cliche at this point, but they got those head coaching jobs because they were good coordinators usually, like that's
right.
So, if they get bumped back, then you get yourself a good coordinator, you're getting too.
Hey,
you're getting.
Kingsbury to me is a lot like McDaniels. I don't see
Who
them.
or bust?
Yeah, what I'm saying
Say
is,
that.
yeah, like I don't see them as leaders of men as a head coach, but if you're
Right.
saying, hey, just focus on this whole thing where you can
Yeah.
be,
X's and O's.
they
Yeah.
call it those, like they are top tier. So that's great. But I wanted to answer the question that you would ask. So you said where would it rank if they had won? And obviously that's a big hypothetical, but that's what we do here. I think on the surface, I would say it would be the third best win of all time. Because objectively speaking, and once again, although it hurts to say it, you cannot say that the Giants win over the Patriots is not number one. It's for what it meant, what it was going to mean. You have to say it's the Giants. Like that. That's
No,
not.
I don't think I do. I think the comeback. I think.
Oh no, I'm saying, but that's number two. Like that's number two. I'm saying.
We'll put that one.
No, one is the Giants being us in 07. Like it has to be the moment. The moment
No,
was,
dude, a comeback like that, like that's
the moment
that's
was so
sports movie
big.
shit.
Like, the moment was so big, bro. Like you think it's 18 or 19. You're gonna be 19-0. You're forever immortalized. You dethroned the Dolphins. Like there would have been no debate. Like we're not talking about Mahomes now. We're not talking about any other court. Like it'd have been like, no, 19-0, bro. We would have Jordan that argument forever. Like we would be like, no, 6-0, bro, 6-0.
Yeah, well, I think from a Patriots fan's perspective, I would imagine that's true. But
You're
always going to be.
Patriots not going to agree with me on that. They're not objectively.
That's fine. That's fine. I just feel like I feel strongly that if you're talking about best, it's really just depends on what like the criteria is. Like if you bring all that added Patriots regular season context in, and you bring in like the Belichick and Brady era in, and the Randy Moss and how hard it is to throw that many fucking touchdowns, and I get all that. I'm talking about the game though. Like I really think that comeback was
game wise. Sure, and yeah, and that's the case, absolutely. Because for them to be down,
there's a strong shout for that Steelers Cardinals game. To be honest, like if you're just talking about the game, like that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like that was just because that was such a shootout. The thing is it's a movable feast, right? Like it's a ton of different. It depends on what you're looking for, really. Like it and on a given charcuterie board. And if you're talking about what you're talking about, and like I know we've gone down a rabbit hole here, but I did ask the question, and I appreciate you answering it. I wonder. You can't really speculate where the Commanders would really fall if it was just the game, right? Because it's like you have to carry the context. So if we're carrying the Commanders context in, I guess it is the Giants winning. Is it a little weirdly watered down by them doing it twice? Is it like strange? Does the first one sort of like, does it become a weird?
07 should always be number one in my, and once again, this is objectively speaking, being a full grown adult now, right? Once again, the magnitude of that moment, and you come in and you hold the greatest offense of all time to 14 points. There is no bigger moment than that. So in my opinion, once again, that pains me to the core to say that, but once again, to objectively speak, it has to be that. But of course, to be down 28-3, and Brady throws a pick six, that was not something that happened on a regular, and you're thinking, man, like how do they even, just make it respectable at this moment, And then James White scores, and Amendola scores, and then Dante Hightower gets the strip sack, and it was like, oh, all of a sudden it's 28-20, and I'm like, ooh, they're about to tie this game. Then they tie it. I'm just like, yeah, Atlanta, you fucked up, bro. Like,
it was over at that point.
I'm like, there's no way they lose this game at this moment now. But I was like, wow, it was crazy.
I watched the Falcons walk into the locker room. They made a play like right before halftime, like another defensive play. So it was just like, all right, quarter over, 28-3. And I watched the Falcons start to go into the locker room, and I was like, oh, I think they think the game's over. Like they're jumping around, like they think that, like I think they might already be celebrating in the locker room. They could come back if anyone's going to do it.
For context, though, you're up 28-3 on Brady. Of course, you think like you're like, oh my god, who wouldn't? That's like when, and granted, we didn't see any footage of it, but when Tampa Bay was smacking Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and at that point, Mahomes had already been anointed as the GOAT at that moment. I'm being but people already thought he's fucking amazing. So to hold him to 9 points, I'm sure they was on the sideline like, oh my god, he held him up 9 points. Like It's a natural reaction. It just wasn't on NFL films, but they caught. I mean, if you remember, Mohamed Sanu was like, "Hey, that's 12 over there. This shit ain't over." He told he kept, he was being DK on the sideline. He's like, "Hey, this is premature."
Dude, they
Premature.
should listen to that motherfucker, honestly,
Yeah,
because it's like,
you know what I'm saying? And they,
it's because I think there was a little bit of it was like, it was just a little bit of a small guy sort of reaction, like getting somebody down in the first round and like celebrating, like that was the highest expectations you sort of had, and it's like, it exceeded your expectations like wildly. Right. So now I'm just thinking like, oh, like, so you would accept the reality of the comeback then. And that's really all that ever needs to happen in a sports comeback, right? It's for the other team, even if they're better, even if they're just objectively a better team. I've seen better teams crumble in those situations because they just let that little quicksand piece into their head, and it goes through the team like a virus. And as it starts to happen, you see great teams, like really, really great teams, they snuff out comebacks, right? Like you see comebacks start and people start to go like, ooh, uh-oh, is this gonna, and it's like, no, it's not. That's the response of like winners, right? Like real, like, and some of those teams are front runners, and it sort of is what it is. Like if you let them get in that position, they're not going to let it up, and that's just how the team's built. Looking at you, Dallas Cowboys, all the time.
It's funny because Brady almost had that twice, because when he was in Tampa, that game against LA, and people, because I remember people was talking crazy online. I'm like, I said, do you not remember what happened against Atlanta? He's never out of it.
Yeah.
Never out of it. I said, and he was like, and the defense, if the defense wasn't inept, they would be play that game. So, but yeah,
the reason why the prevailing wisdom about Patrick Mahomes is like, don't doubt him. It's just gonna like blow up in your face. The reason why that's the prevailing wisdom is because we all spent our whole adolescent life and a lot of our 20s getting taught that lesson by Tom Brady. Like it's like when you have the best guy at that position, anything can happen. Like genuinely anything can happen.
Right.
And it's like he can just start fucking you up. Like that can just start happening at any time, and like and just killing you. And like Brady could always just start killing you. It's like just never was out of it,
Well,
I think you're probably right just about the magnitude of the moment. I'm casting my soul back to that night, and like to me it was sort of funny at the time because I was just like a snot-nosed teenager, and I didn't really realize the kind of heartbreak that would go into something like that. I've since like had been to a lot more wars with my teams and emotional roller coasters and heartbreak and this and that. And I've become a lot more of a, I don't know, compassioned individual when it comes to like what happens. And I understand greatness because of that team. To be honest, like I saw, like that was the thing I got to see firsthand, and I'm always going to be sort of grateful to them for that. So yeah, I guess it's hard to argue with, but I tried. The next game, we sort of went to reverse order here. I'm mad about this one, right? Honestly, this was the most annoying game of the weekend, and I'm talking, of course, about the Texans and the Chiefs to kick off the divisional weekend Saturday. I really thought that the Texans showed up for most of the game. It was a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter, and for the first few minutes of the fourth quarter, it was a 1-point game, a low scoring game. But the Texans had essentially done everything that they were supposed to do to get themselves into a position to win against this Chiefs team. I'm not saying, I just want to do this disclaimer because we're going to talk about the referee. We have to. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs don't win if the referees don't help them. I'm saying, of course, the Chiefs are capable of winning without seeking out the refs' help. So they shouldn't do that in order to not, I would say stain our beautiful game, but it's dirty already. I felt the tone shift. I felt the vitriol towards Patrick Mahomes really sort of solidify and crystallize when he did that like soccer dive off, on the sidelines, and the way that the game had been officiated already up until that point. You're like Neymaring, really? Like that's what you're doing? I don't think football. I don't think there's a place for that in this game. To be honest with you, I don't mean to sound like thanks for coming, Unc, but like I really don't think that there's any place for that in the game of football, and it's like it's going to ruin it. I promise you, it's pervasive in a sport that I really deeply love, and it's awful. It sucks. It needs to be stamped out of the game now. And once it becomes a forest fire because you reward it, why wouldn't you do it? If you're trying to get every edge as a player and you're getting told you're getting positive reinforcement, like why wouldn't you do it? I get it, but we can't reward it, and that's why I point the blame at the officials. And people can get mad at Mahomes if they want, and like there's ways that I find him annoying. But look, man, he's trying to win a game of football, a close game of football. And if you tell him, which they told him twice before that moment, if you do this, if you're perceived to be in any danger, if it even looks a little dirty, we're going to throw the flag. Why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't he? Because he's going to get a free 15 yards probably. He didn't, thankfully, because it was a little too theatrical. But then the real issue I have with it is we spent the rest of the weekend watching quarterbacks get fucking jacked up. We spent the fucking rest of the weekend watching dirty hits land on fucking QBs. Most importantly, I would say, and I'm sorry we did shit it on the Lions fans a little earlier, and their team. I'm a little happy about Ben Johnson. It was really more Ray than me, honestly. But I have to say, would that game have been different if Goff doesn't get absolutely fucking jacked up by the crown of somebody's helmet off the ball, have to come out for a series? Does that affect the rest of his game? Because he does look like ass for the rest of the game after that because he got his fucking bell rung. And I personally think that should have been a penalty earned towards disqualification, regardless of if it's a quarterback or not. I thought that was a fucking cheap hit, dude. I really do. I mean, I know he like enabled himself in the play and he was like trying to get involved, but like you fucking jacked him up, dude. Like that's not cool. And then like, I mean, you can point to a million examples. Like everybody was getting shoved like a second too late for the rest of the weekend because they knew the refs had to keep the flags in their pocket because of what happened against Kansas City. They knew. And I'm fucking so tired of it, dude. Like you can't set a precedent like that at the start of the weekend. And it's always right when there's 4 teams left and the stakes are higher than ever, or there's, I mean, it's like, it's always like one round in on a Saturday or a Sunday. And you're just like, guy, like really like it's, and just obvious PIs not getting called. Like they just kept their flags in their pocket then for the rest of the weekend in situations where you're like, dude, they're cheating. Like now they're cheating. Like, do you have to stop them? Like it just, am I overworked about this? Is this a reality I just have to accept? Do you lay more blame on Patrick Mahomes than the rest? What are your thoughts?
So as someone who people were just saying to me, your team benefits from the referee more than anybody else. Okay. And many times that was true. Okay. I can adamantly say it. Okay, cool. When you're the golden goose of the NFL, you get more calls than everybody else. Good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it less insufferable. That's just what it is. So that's what we're seeing now with Mahomes. So I'll get back to that in a minute. What I will say to those that are pissed about the loss, mainly Texas fans that I know, you all should be used to this. Even when y'all was Oilers fans, when y'all lost to Pittsburgh back in the day, in the late 70s. It's funny because they got robbed then too, but it happened. You think about obviously when they had to face New England a few times. And I want to be clear before I get back to the referee point. You cannot score 14 points against Patrick Mahomes and think you're going to win. Period. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what's going on.
No, I mean, I'm not. The thing is, that's why I disclaimered it. I'm not saying the refs won that game for them. I'm not saying the refs.
No, this is my personal shot to my Houston homies.
I think the Texans were losing either way if CJ Stroud throws 0 touchdowns. If you tell me that CJ Stroud throws 0 touchdowns before the game, I'm like, Texans lose. So
right, but this goes back to what it was in the 2010s, like when they would come up and like, oh, Houston was this upstart team, and Bill O'Brien took over, and they had some other guys there, and Andre Johnson and D Hopkins, and it's like it didn't matter. Like you're not better than the team. You're a team, and we thought at the beginning of the year that you could be that team. And yes, when you lose Diggs, you lost Collins for part of the year. I think Mixon, so just going back to what we talked about with Detroit, like, hey, everybody was dealing with injuries, dog. Like it wasn't just y'all. And it's like, okay, yeah, that part sucked, but you weren't beating them guys. You was, and once again, it just sucks that the refs do play a part of it because that becomes the conversation as opposed to y'all wasn't really good enough to beat them anyways. It might have been closer, but you weren't going to ultimately beat them. And that's really the point of it all. Like I said, once again, great season again. Hey, you made the division around again. Even though there was moments when I thought they took a step back, but you still made the same round as you did last year. So yeah, now the goal next year should be trying to get to the championship game if healthy. But Diggs is a free agent, so I don't know if they look to re-sign him. But yeah, there's a lot more questions to answer down there than what happened with the pinstripes. But yeah, I'm with you. They should not have that much influence in the game. The game should be decided between the 22 men that's on the field, that's playing for both sides. But for whatever reason, and this is on Roger Goodell and everyone else as part of the committee, they pick and choose who they want to anoint. And right now, because of what they think ratings wise, they think it's going to be Chiefs and Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, it's just frustrating, I think, to look at it from a just like, I'm not a Texans fan. I'm not mad on their behalf. It's right. Frustrating to look at it from a neutral perspective when you're watching a game going into the fourth quarter that's close, 13-12, maybe they can do it. Am I cheering against the Chiefs? I mean, as much as anybody in the NFL community is, like, as much as anyone is cheering against them three-peating, because it's going to be annoying. It's not the end of the world for me. It's like I got my own problems at home in the Midway. I got to clean up my own fucking house. It's going to be annoying, but it's not as if like my team is like had their hat in the ring to stop them at any point. So, what the fuck? So right. It is what it is.
Right.
I can't blame these teams coming in and getting smacked by him like he smacks fucking everybody every year. So it's like, it is what it is, but it's just disappointing when I see it close and I'm thinking like, you look at to give another shout out to our good friend Mike, our oft contributor on this show, Mike. I mean, you look at those stats and it's like they had 110 something more yards than them. They had more passing yards. They had more rushing yards, more yards per play, more efficient on third down, 4 more first downs, more plays, big glaring reverse. And they allowed 8 sacks and the Chiefs allowed 3. I think that definitely played a factor when watching it. Also 82 penalty yards for the Texans. So it's like, yeah, there's things where it's like, well, you broke down in really key areas and you gave up a lot of yardage in situations where you right. Probably shouldn't have. But I want that to be the reason. I want that to be 100% completely the reason where we could just look to it and go like, well, the sacks and then this. Yeah, maybe Patrick Mahomes' sack numbers were low, but are they low because they're afraid to touch him? Like it is impacting the game. It is impacting the game when you're watching it, So like the game plan has to be, if I honestly, I mean, this is going to sound maybe a little too harsh, but I really think I would tell one of my guys at one point to be like, you're getting the flag anyway. You're getting the flag anyway if you touch him when he goes out of bounds. So if he does a little like twinkle toes thing on the sideline, just fuck him up. Like really like let him know. Because if the refs aren't going to stop it and if the league isn't going to stamp it out, I guess we have to take matters into our own hands. So if he does a fucking twinkle toes thing on the sideline, make sure if you're going to the locker room that he has to go to. I mean, at some point, like at some point, I wonder, is that going to happen? I'm not saying I mean,
you got the right guy in his division.
And I just think like I feel like one of these players is going to come to that conclusion one of these times. I really think that somebody's going to come to that conclusion. Some hardest hitting his safety in the league. Some just coming out of nowhere. It's like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I couldn't slow down. I was already committed to the tackle, and you just get absolutely just destroyed like it's a kick return.
That's what Bernard Prowler was. That's why Brady was out for the year.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like, would anyone even be that mad? It's like when that CEO got shot. Would anyone even be that mad? It's like, because he was trying to do a thing and like trying to slow down and maybe like draw a flag. And then he got reminded that this is not a gentleman's sport, I guess, would be the situation. Is I would imagine most people's reaction to it. But let's preview them a little bit. What do you say? The Kansas City Chiefs are going to move on and face the Buffalo Bills. Well, I guess we got to do Lamar versus Josh first.
Yeah, of course you do. This is what Mike's been waiting for. He's going to win this great match.
You're right. I'm jumping the gun. Let's talk about that game. I think we should just reverse engineer it. Let's just talk about who's at fault for the loss, because I think that that's really just getting into the meat of it, right? You and I were essentially on the side of you can't really blame Lamar for that one. Mike's take, obviously, famously, is that like he's just not a playoff guy. He's not going to get it done in the playoffs. Last week being an exception because the Steelers just suck. So honestly, I really did see a scenario playing out where he choked again. I don't think that's what happened here. I think that he made mistakes in the game, but I think that if you take out his mistakes, they might actually still lose because nothing. Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, Mike does make a good point that he dropped that ball and gave them like incredible, impeccable field position for a score. And when a game comes down to it being that close, but to me, it was like watching him actually rally and come back and leave the mistakes behind him and not get like in his own head, which is, I think, what we've consistently seen him do, especially last year. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, that was the most egregious one of him getting in his own head and not playing his game, right? And I think right off the bat, we saw him starting to move and we saw him starting to just like play his game and like get into his rhythm. And he looked like a lot of the regular season version of Lamar Jackson, except for what I would call a diabolical interception. I've seen people try to justify it like he was like the receiver was supposed to run a go route. It's like, nah, bro. Like he threw into double coverage to one of the double coverage guys.
Yeah, but the fumble was more egregious to me than the interception, though.
The fumble was bad. The fumble was really, really bad. I think that was like a really, really pivotal moment.
That can't happen there. Like yes, you're, have the best legs in the league as a quarterback.
No, his body position, where he puts the ball, how he tries to turn his decision making, everything about it is absolutely terrible.
It's like, dude, just go down. Like what are we doing? Like I get it, you want to play, but live to see another play.
Yeah,
it's that simple. And as far as the thing with Andrews, and I texted my homeboy David. That's he's a big Ravens fan. I'm like, yo, Andrews got to go.
Whoa, that's harsh.
Yeah. Like that can't happen. Like, okay, I'll use
it's an all time bad playoff.
Yeah, I'll use my experience as a Patriots fan, and I'll bring it back to what we saw here. So when I think about Super Bowl 46, this is the second Super Bowl against the Giants. There's an inside seam route that Walker beats his guy on, and Brady leads it in perfectly, and Walker misses it. Mind you, Walker was the guy up here. He was the guy that was getting 100 catches 4 years in a row, 110 catches or more. He was like a mini AB for a few years here in New England. And I remember in that moment, it didn't matter about the 110 catches. It didn't matter about the touchdowns. It didn't matter about the route running. I'm like, yo, this has been our nemesis. This has been a team that people are going to forever say, you can't beat them. And you missed that moment on the seam route where you're wide open. You missed like that. I was over it. I couldn't forgive that moment. So I understand the Ravens fans this morning that are like, dog, it hits you in the breadbasket and you drop it? No. Or before that, you catch it, you go back. They do the Peanut Tillman, punched it out, game over essentially. No, that can't happen. Catch the ball, get a few more yards, a few more yards, and go down. That simple. You live seeing the play, you go from there. You probably score because they was moving the ball up and down. And Lamar said it. He said, we had no problem moving the ball. He was like, turnovers, that shit can't happen. And I'm with him. And I to me, it'd be the last time in a uniform for Mark Andrews. In Baltimore, anyways. Let him go elsewhere.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, honestly, so soon after it all happened, you can say that because I was more leaning towards like, is someone with him? Like, that's how I generally was feeling today. I'm like, is somebody with Mark Andrews? Is somebody like next to him, making sure he doesn't hurt himself or others?
Well, I'm emotional. No, that's the more logical take, what you're saying. I'm the emotional fan that's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and once again, I had no probably nothing involved in it, but I was just like, bro, like, how do you drop that? And I know Baltimore, I know you ain't got to tell me because I know your history too. I know y'all thought about Lee Evans right then and there. I know y'all thought about him in that moment in the 2011 AFC Championship game when Sterling Moore, punched it out of his hand. Lee Evans had a touchdown. Yeah, y'all was going to the Super Bowl. I know that's what y'all thought about immediately. So I get it. I get it. But like I said, once again, Dave was giving y'all the logical take. I'm being emotional offended today. Fuck that. Get him out of here. Yeah, get us some help on the way out. Get him a therapist on the way out. But I don't want him on the team. Get him out of here. It's like, that's wild. Okay, that can't happen there. Can't drop that.
It's messed up that you brought that up. It's like 10 years to the day. It's messed up that you brought that up. Fucking Lee Evans drop. That's just like, I mean, that's fucked up.
Hey, listen, hey, I brought up my Super Bowl 42 pain. Hey, this is a therapeutic show today. We bring
hurt people. Hurt people. That's where it is, guys. That's where Ray's going from here today. I don't know, man. I mean, I think that Lamar Jackson played well in a playoff game. I don't think he did enough to win. I think if you had the perspective of who they were playing, the way that the other QB has been on a mission this year, but Lamar, I feel like Lamar did what was asked of him. I really do. Like, I feel like this is just not what the conversation would be if somebody else doesn't drop the last ball. And I understand that you can rewind and you can say, yeah, but if this doesn't happen, then they're not in this position in the first place, and da-da-da-da-da. But Lamar, he drove down, he was rolling down the field when Andrews fumbled that ball. He came down the field 2 times when he had to. And one time Andrews fumbles, and another time he doesn't catch the 2-point conversion. A very catchable ball, I have to say. I'm not going to entertain the idea that it wasn't a catchable ball. He's got to be catching that. He has to 1,000% be catching that. If anybody is on the internet today saying, I don't know, I think Lamar should have put this, or if Lamar could have, you're wrong. You got to catch that ball. Okay, so we're just going to leave that piece of the argument there. But I just feel like in the context of Lamar Jackson, I think you could watch him then have this get in his head, watch him be more like the Lamar Jackson of the last few playoffs over the rest of his career. And then you can zoom out. And if you're Mike, you can go, I mean, there was that one run that he lost in the divisional round anyway, and he didn't do it this year. There is a couldn't get it done guy award waiting for him. And, the Mikes of the world would be very happy to see that if that happens. And I see why he says it. It's not something based. It's not an uncommon opinion. And it's not something that isn't based in reality in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Which way do you think the win goes? Which one does it prove? Or does it prove?
There's plenty of people that side with where Mike's at. Because when you're the best player on the team, you're going to get a lion's share of the blame. Just like when you do really well, you get a lion's share of the credit. And as much as we love Mike, we know Mike thrives off negativity. So when someone does poorly that he's not the biggest fan of, he's going to have a victory lap. And today he earned it. So, okay, cool. So, as he would say, love your media, but hey, love that for him, right? But yeah, Lamar Jackson did a lion's share of the blame. And like I said, once again, when you're the best player, you're getting that money. It comes with the territory. Period.
I think that's fair.
So shout out to Lamar Rivers.
Wow. It works one of two ways. It works but Phillip Rivers and Doc Rivers. The Rivers moniker.
But even with
it's more Phil. It's more Phil at this point.
Rivers got to a few AFC Championship games. I think he got to about 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I would ask the broader question. I mean, what does getting to a championship game really mean? I mean, so did Mark Sanchez, right? We can always sort of point to Mark Sanchez as the world.
Look, Phillip Rivers been in Mark Sanchez, so come on.
No, I know, of course.
Yeah, but
people are talking about Jayden Daniels in that same sort of breath. It's like, he's a rookie. He's making it. So did Sanchez. He was a rookie. Sanchez was a rookie. Brock Purdy was a rookie. Ben Roethlisberger was a rookie, although he had a pretty good career, I think. And they all lost.
I'll say this, and to Sanchez's point, you never thought
Sanchez was not fair. I admit that.
No, I'm saying, but you never thought Sanchez was a reason why New York won. He was just there for a ride.
Yeah,
Jayden Daniels has been a reason why they've won at times.
No, of course.
Not every week, but at times.
Well, a lot of people say Brock Purdy wasn't the reason that the 49ers were winning up until that Eagles game. And I feel like he was playing.
He absolutely was. He made the position stable. And the offense was a lot better under his tutelage. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah, but then you watch what happens to Brock Purdy after that. You watch things start to sort of fall apart. I mean, it's an all-time crash out. I understand of like a franchise building. It's not his fault, but it's the thing is like it's very unpredictable, this league. It's really, really unpredictable what's going to happen. Like and that's why I'm a little hesitant to anoint. And I think that it's hard to get to an AFC championship game. I genuinely do. I think it's a difficult thing to do, and I think you should be like lauded for it. It's just how much you zoom out, because again, are you taking any of these guys that we're talking about on this list that have made it to championship games over Lamar Jackson? I don't know if you are. I think if you're gonna ride with somebody, even though these guys have all made it to the championship game, I'm certainly taking him over Sanchez. LOL. I'm certainly taking him over Brock Purdy. I'm certainly, you know what I mean? I'm certainly taking him over. I'm probably taking him over Ben Roethlisberger. Probably. I mean, honestly, it may there's a conversation to be had at the very least. Even though Ben has been to the promised land, I'm watching this dude play football. I'm watching Lamar Jackson play football, and I'm just like, this dude's fucking good at football. So it's like, it's just a crazy thing, because all these contexts do exist, and you have to see it in those ways. But God, it just to me it feels unfair to Lamar sometimes.
But also another added context, even though he didn't do as great as last year either, but he was hurt now. Missing Zay Flowers for this game was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
But like you said yourself on this show, everybody's got injuries, dude.
I'm saying like if we're talking about him getting over the hurdle, and
the offense was still moving. Yeah.
No, right. But I'm saying, but there's some guys, when you get to that level, they need everything to align perfectly for that to happen. Some guys can lose stuff in the moment. Once again, losing a Walker, lost like Gronkowski, still won a Super Bowl. Like it happens, right? Everyone is not built that way, and everyone can't do that. So for him to lose someone of Zay Flowers' caliber the week going into the game, it's huge. It's huge, and it cost them to an extent, because you're not throwing enough Aguilar. That's not happening. Even Rashad Bateman got hurt in the game. You know what I'm saying? So I think the Bills respected Isaiah Likely a lot, which is why Likely wasn't really involved, because to me Likely is the game changer on that offense, which is why that's another reason why, if I'm giving the real reason, that's another reason why I move off from Andrews too. Isaiah Likely is really good. He ain't no scrub. He's number 2, but he easily be a number 1 guy, and he was when Andrews was hurt. He was. So yeah, that's just how I see it. But
honestly, if you look at it from a Ravens offseason perspective, it's not a terrible idea. They've got like $17 million to play with right now. They have to re-sign Ronnie Stanley, or else like the whole operation falls to the this is the reason why you don't see left tackles on the market, right? They're gonna figure that out, and like that's gonna get sorted. But I wonder, they're losing Nelson Aguilar. I don't know what that contract is. Was that inflated?
It was 2 years. 2 years, 26 or 20. No, maybe that's what he did. He signed here with. I don't know how much he signed for.
But to your point, from like a larger cap space perspective, I wonder if you could use the Mark Andrews space more effectively elsewhere. I wonder if you could help yourself in the safety department, so you don't have to like make mid-season changes and get up in the deep ball.
Get someone like Javon Holland next to Kyle Hamilton. Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I think that there's a little bit of an issue, though. I mean, Lamar, I think his big cap hit comes now, right? This is when he really starts to. I think the same is true of Josh Allen. I think their big cap hits are going to start. So you're going to start to see the sort of more luxury players around a guy in like the early days of his contract sort of start to disappear, right?
Like
I think.
Us,
yeah. I mean, this is what happens. This is just the way the contract situation is. You get windows with these things, but the man's gonna get paid. I guess it is what it is. But I wonder what their offseason looks like, and I wonder what this team looks like coming in next year. Because on the one hand, to be fair to Mike's take, because he couldn't be here tonight, I want to be fair because I know he would stick up for himself effectively. I wonder, are we looking at it from a perspective of like, he's 28. He's got a lot of time left. He'll learn from this. He made less mistakes than last time. He looked good he looked better in a playoff game than I think even Mike would admit that we've ever seen. He took responsibility for the loss afterwards. He didn't let Mark Andrews take the hit on the loss. He didn't Aaron Rodgers the situation, which I really respected. I think it's a no-brainer. But I also think like we've seen guys fall short on that, especially when it's like they're in the middle of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I think like he kind of comes out to me like smelling pretty good from this whole situation. But I wonder if are we looking at it from a perspective of we're expecting to see him at this level because of the team around him for the next 5 to 7 years. Are we sure that there's not going to be a down season or 3 in there for the entire Ravens? You know, why is it that Harbaugh's not the conversation when Tomlin is and McCarthy is?
Don't worry. We still got time.
I wonder, you know, but he isn't though, right? Like it's all about Lamar, and I just wonder.
He can be here. Let's get right into it.
Let's have at it because me and Bobby picked up last season. To be totally honest with you,
Yeah.
Last season he's gone to the promised land once. He's very well respected. He's sort of like it's hush hush. You can't really have these conversations, right? It's just this weird thing. It's the same reason Mike gets frustrated about like, you know, my defense of Mike Tomlin or my hatred of Mike McCarthy. It's this you want it, you got one. You can't fucking win in the playoffs anymore. You're outvoted. You're outdated. Is that a thing? Do we believe in Lamar enough to get him somebody else?
Well, I mean, but he's had. I guess he's had multiple seasons where they've won at least one. Like obviously this year they won one. I don't know if last year they was one and done. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Oh no, they went to the AFC Championship game. So or the year before. So, but I think Pittsburgh runs the organization the same way. Not Pittsburgh. Baltimore runs the organization the same way Pittsburgh does to an extent. Think about since they've become the Ravens. Their coaches have been, I don't know who the first coach was, but you had Brian Billick, right? Brian Billick's there. They win a championship. You know, I think they get to a couple of AFC championship games, or at least divisional rounds. And
Mark Chabrota was the first guy, 96.
Gotcha. Okay. Then it went to Brian Billick.
When they become Baltimore. Yeah. When they become Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. So then Brian Billick, then obviously they went to Harbaugh. So once again, 3 coaches in almost 30-year span, right?
Yeah.
John Harbaugh wins pretty early on. I think like in year 4, they win in 2012. Against his brother in San Francisco.
Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah. So you know with the whole lights going out, funny that was in New Orleans as well. So that was funny.
Lost power.
I think some people thought they were going back because it was in New Orleans. Like people are weird like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, he's on the clock. He absolutely is on the clock, and he should be. Yes, excellent coach, excellent leader. You know, has made Baltimore relevant as long as he's been there. They have not been a team that's been subpar and out of the running. But it's been a long time since you looked at them as well as the team that was going to win. Once again, it's hard to replace the Ray Lewis. It's hard to replace the Terrell Suggs. It's hard to replace the Ed Reed. It's hard to replace the Haloti Ngata. It's hard to replace. Well, no, Chris McAllister wasn't part of the team. That's the older Ravens, but they had a lot of guys that couldn't replace. I get that. And then they're another team that just had a bad string of quarterbacks too, right? The Kyle Bowlers, the Tony Banks, the Trent Dilfer's. They went to Elvis Gerback. Anthony Wrights, like it was rough. It was rough out there. You get this kid from Delaware.
Did you see Peter Bowler already?
Huh? Yes, that Bowler. Then you get Flacco who had a cannon. Who had one of the best arms I've ever seen. And you win one with him, and yeah, that was it after that. Until you get Lamar, and Lamar by far is the best quarterback they've had. They just haven't gotten there. But once again, the whole team has not been constructed the way some of the teams in the past had been. So, it's funny. Ironically, you put Lamar and Steelers, they absolutely would have won the title. That's the crazy part. If Lamar was in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin would have had 2 or 3 by now.
I think you're breaking a cap at that point, because they have the highest paid defense. There's a reason for that, right? There's a reason why you don't.
Right. But if you would put Lamar with a decent running game, you don't have to give him a Derrick Henry. Just
you can give him Najee and fucking Jalen Horn. It's fine. So
give him that with Freiermuth. He still would have had Heath Miller early on, but Heath Miller, then Freiermuth. Because it's funny, they always find tight ends too. It's funny, it's weird. They just have guys that can contribute to that position.
Freiermuth looks like he was made in a lab that had a Steelers logo on it. That dude looks like they grew him in the cornfields out there. Like what the hell?
It's ridiculous. So they grew something with wide receivers, and Obviously, for Casey Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, but also too, we're looking at, just to get back to them real quick. Hey, a guy like TJ Watt, hey brother, you wanted money or they
You stuck the place up for those last 6 games. I do have to say,
you've been considered a guy on that team. Like one playoff win would be cool, but I know that hasn't happened, so we got to get into that. But back to the Harbaugh thing. Like, yeah, like he's definitely got a clock, and if they chose to walk away, it was justified because once again, you're knocking at the door. At some point, they say, "Hey, it's been real."
yeah.
So,
But it leads to it leads to the conversation though of like where do they even go from there? Because it's just like the Steelers, where it's like, who I, by the way, just quickly, I do think that they should find a way to go and get Devontae Adams. But that would be the move. They need a wide receiver one. Also a new quarterback. Oh, it's a mess. The offseason is gonna be fun. But I think you start to look at it and you go like, is he like, would he still, if we fired him, would he still be the best available coach on the market? Like if you fired John Harbaugh, if you fired Mike Tomlin, would they immediately become the number one candidate for every team, including yours? So it's like, if you're definitely downgrading, if you don't get Ben Johnson, which now you like haven't, because I think you can like bet on that upside. And I think you could maybe bet on like a Joe Brady. I think you could. Or you're going to get a guy like Bill Belichick or something, which I think that ship has sailed on that, although there's been speculation about the signature on that contract.
He hasn't officially signed his deal in UNC.
Yeah.
He had the press conferences and he's been on every media platform you could think of. Speaking about the recruiting and how that's going to look for him and Michael Brady and the rest of the crew is over there. I don't know. If we've learned anything is possible, man. Like, that's only January, bro. Like,
yeah,
we could do a show in 2 weeks during Super Bowl weekend. Someone would say, da-da-da. Breaking news, like, Bill's going to Pittsburgh, some shit like that. You just never know. Like that would be insane. But yeah, I think the whole Steelers thing, I think that would have been out by now. That we're gonna let go of Tomlin. Like he's clearly coming back. But we still have, I think we have some people that are still in the hot seat in the Final Four, and we'll talk about more when we get into the predictions. But yeah, it's wild out here. It's cold world.
Let's do that. Let's do that right now. Let's jump right into the Final Four. Let's talk about the AFC first, since we were already talking about the AFC and the game. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are looking really good. They're looking really good, and I think that the conversation was quite rightly around Lamar because of the context in which we operate on the show. But I think Josh Allen deserves a lot of credit, and he won the MVP bowl. I don't know who's going to actually win the whole prize, but he won the MVP off because he did exactly what was asked of him, and he played a great game. And he played like he was been playing all season. I would say Josh Allen's our only hope to not see the Chiefs three-peat at this point. We'll obviously come on to talk about the NFC Championship game, but it's Pat Mahomes versus Josh Allen. I think we know about precedent. I think there was a reason why we were kind of cheering for Lamar, even though there's precedent there too. Mahomes beats everybody, but you and I think at least we're leaning Lamar was the more likely candidate to be able to dethrone him in the AFC and move on to the Super Bowl. But it's going to be Josh Allen. I think I've never seen him play like this. I've never seen him play at this level before. I think there's a chance. I genuinely think there's a chance, and I don't think the Chiefs have been playing at a really high level. That said, am I going to put money on the Bills? No, I'm not. I'm not that sure. Where are you at?
No, I just, once again, I'm getting the eerie feeling I used to get when teams came into New England and talk shows will hype them up all week. Like, yeah, like their defense is this, and they're playing out of their mind, and they have walking into the frozen tundra, and like they come with all these different lines. Shout out to Chris Berman and Mike. They just come with all these great lines, and when it came onto the field, you was saying it was over before it started. Perfect example, because to me, I look at Josh Allen being a Peyton Manning to Mahomes being Brady. And it's funny, it'd be 20 years ago to the, I think, well, not to the date, but close to it. this is, Josh Allen, like Peyton Manning had a great season. He won MVP. Oh, he wasn't going to win MVP that year. 49 touchdowns, had a couple of 6-touchdown games. It feels like, man, Peyton Manning, what a guy. He's going to come in there, even though they play in the dome, but he's going to come in there and they're going to find a way to beat New England. They didn't score 6 points. It was 20-3, and it was a championship game. 20-3. And I say that to say,
so realistic for this weekend. It's such a realistic outcome.
And I say that to say, do not be surprised if you get a similar outcome. I mean, once again, as good as I think Josh Allen is, obviously as great as Peyton Manning was, obviously, there was a time frame where you couldn't trust Peyton Manning to get it done. For the first 8 years of his career, it was quiet. It was quiet. And who knows? Maybe this is his Marlon Jackson moment for Patriots fans. If we know, you know what that means. Unfortunately, it's a hurtful moment for us. When Marlon Jackson got picked out Brady for them to win the AFC Championship game back in 2006. That hurts. That's when I always think about it. That's a bad one. That hurt.
I was hurt that year too, bud.
Yeah,
I didn't love that year.
No, we was up 21-10, something like that, and lost. So that's I'm like, that's that. I was like, wow.
We returned the opening kickoff.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen then. Like
in the Super Bowl, we returned the next game. We returned the opening kickoffs.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. Yeah. I was like, I was like, what the fuck? But anyways, it's a trip. Yeah. So I just say that maybe he has that moment, and they go into to Arrowhead like Joe Burrow did and find a way to win. I trust Joe Burrow more in those moments. Obviously, he's not there, but if it was Joe Burrow leading them into Arrowhead, I would have gave Buffalo a chance, but I think Mahomes is in Allen's head too. I really do. And Spags is not going to sit back and let Josh Allen go, play parking lot, throw it all over the parking lot. They're going to come at Josh. So Josh is going to have to use his legs a lot this game. And that's going to be dangerous because you're going to run into Chris Jones, you're going to run into some other guys, and it might be real quiet real soon. So either the game is going to be 31-28 or the Chiefs are going to win 20-3. So don't be surprised. Either way, don't be surprised.
Yeah.
Either way, the Chiefs are winning. Yeah.
Well, the NFL does not actually by rule.
Yeah, let me read the finish of it. We're winning, but yeah.
I mean, by rule, they're not allowed to lose. I think it's in the rule book now.
Right, exactly.
It seems that way. So we've seen it all year. Moving on over to the NFC. I'm cheering for the Commanders, I guess. I mean, the Eagles are annoying as shit. It's not the best case scenario for how I would like to see the NFC sort of shake out. I don't think we're sending our best soldiers into the Patrick Mahomes battle, and I'm starting to get the feeling like it's the Yankees and the Red Sox ALCS over there in the AFC. And, the real championship's game's going to get played this weekend, and then we're going to do a little exhibition come Super Bowl time. And that I think upsets me a little bit. I'm not saying that definitively, but it is starting to sort of creep up my spine a little bit because I've seen this scenario play out in the past when one side of the conference battles is just, I don't know. To me, it's just clearly, more stacked.
Well, let me ask this before we get into the predictions. Because I'm saying, what if Washington won? We already talked about that earlier, but yeah. It just dawned on me as you brought it up. What if Washington is the 2003 Carolina Panthers, right? Where no one expected them to be there.
I think we've hit every Patriots Super Bowl at this point. Their
path though. They beat the Rams, right? The high flying Rams.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Eagles. They beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl. And that Super Bowl was real. It was quiet that first half. And all of a sudden, guys like He Hate Me, aka Ross Smart, Steve Smith Sr., Musa Muhammad, an older Ricky Cole, Stephen Davis.
I mean, it came down to a field goal, it's
right. But maybe they're that team. Now, granted, obviously Carolina ended up losing. But maybe if they did get there, maybe they wouldn't be just to lay down. It was an exhibition. Like that wasn't an exhibition against Carolina. The boys came to play.
Yeah.
So I think at that moment they'd be flying high. even if they lost. And then I can see the shirts now, Commander in Chief. The shirts will sell itself.
Yeah.
No, please.
You know what I did? You know what I fucking did? I totally forgot to talk about the Rams Eagles game. I think I was too hurt by it. Bonus content: Rams Eagles. Brief summary. I really just thought that it came down to the fact the Rams didn't play well in the snow. But what I do think,
I also I was pissed because I thought when Puka Nacua got the
he did have some bad
when
drops.
he got that bomb, I was like, oh, they're gonna win. They're gonna win the game. Like it's just they're gonna throw a touchdown once again. Because I believe in Matt Stafford. Like I believed in him since he was in Detroit.
I thought he played a good game. I mean, he looked every day of his age when he was trying to move in the pocket. He looked like those old bones were creaking. But he's a gamer, like I know he was getting banged up in there and I know he was doing his best. I think the last throw of the game isn't really representative of his overall participation and trying to win the fucking thing.
There. It's like, what are we doing? Like that was a problem.
That all sucked. Yeah, I really hated that whole sequence.
Yeah, they gave a valiant effort. And I thought they were going to go in there and beat Philly. I did. I didn't. I thought they were going to be.
But doesn't that speak to the game we're previewing right now? Like, I wonder, are Philly the team that we keep thinking are going to lose and they don't? Or are they the team where it's like, oh, they look vulnerable? Like we've seen them look vulnerable to like losing a game they shouldn't lose.
It's possible, but like to the point you were making, like at some point are we going to see Jayden Daniels become a rookie, right?
Yeah,
it happened.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe this is the game, right? But it's just like I know Matt Stafford would have came in there and would have been ready, for everything. And once again, I thought it was going to be Rams Lions. Let me be clear. I thought it was going to be Rams Lions and NFC. I thought it was going to be poetic justice that they would have to go through Matt Stafford to get to the Super Bowl. Like that. That's what I was looking for. I thought that's the script that was going to be read. They went against the script completely. Teddy Bridgewater made a cameo, and got paid handsomely for his efforts. But yeah, I think this is going to be the better game of the two. I think, in my opinion, this is the third time they're meeting. I think the Eagles have won both times, so it's hard to beat a team a third time in a row. So that's what Washington should be telling themselves, like, hey, they may have got us twice, but the third time won't be the charm.
I mean, the divisional game factor is really a big one. You don't want to see a divisional opponent in a championship game. You really don't. But I wonder, are you just going to feel like, say this weekend, it's the Chiefs win, and then the Commanders win. Are you going to be like, holy shit? Are we going to talk about the thing we talked about earlier in the show? Like, wow, this is a crazy story. It's going to be top 5 all time with all this stuff. Or are we going to be like, yeah, but the fucking Chiefs are going to just win. Like the Chiefs have the best possible scenario for themselves.
I think we'll talk about both because that's just how.
What's going to be the general vibe out there, though?
The general thing will be, I mean, obviously the media, because you have 2 weeks to prepare, are going to have wild stories. They'll probably bring up Doug Williams because Doug Williams was another African American quarterback that went to Super Bowl with Washington and won with Washington, I think in 88 or 91, one of the two. Either one, he was one of the 3 quarterbacks that won.
Everyone's going to stop saying he's Robert Griffin and start saying he's him.
There was no bigger RG3 guy than the man that's on the screen with you. He lapped RG3 after the Hail Mary. I was like, it's a wrap. Like he's better than what RG3 was going to be in that moment. So cool.
And that was a freak play. That was like an accident.
It was.
That was just the Bears were being idiots.
So it's happening down here. We need to pay attention. And they hit a little drought. People were like, oh, we crowned them too early in general. And they caught fire again. And now, once again, they're 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl. That's crazy.
It is. No, it is. It genuinely is. You can't take anything away from it.
Well, yeah, that's insane. So, and once again, say what you want about Dan Quinn. We talked about a little bit about him earlier, and I shared it in our Slack. That's OG listeners there, not in the Slack. Shared it in the Discord, like, man, the redemption arc for Dan Quinn has been amazing. From 2016 to now. And he's done a masterful job down there in year 1. So he is a leader of men. Once again, it's amazing that he was so able to have people's ear after what happened in Atlanta, because but I think that's why you have to go through being an OC or a DC again, to build your name back up, to build that narrative about you, and then become that coach that you aspire to be, and that's what he's done. But yeah, but I do think, like I said, if there is something where the Commanders won, and I want to go on the limb, I do think it's going to be the upset. I think the Commanders win. Um, I think they find a way to get it done late, and I think it's going to be the same way they won all year, where they'll both go back and forth. The game will be like maybe 21 all, something like that. And Jayden Daniels has the ball in hand with 2 minutes left. Throws a nice little slant to Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, touchdown Washington, Super Bowl.
So you're saying what, 28-21 is your prediction?
Or Washington, yep.
I'll tell you something. If the Eagles start slow, which they've been wanting to do this year, if the Eagles can't get it off the ground in specific situations,
it's over.
I don't think it's entirely impossible. On the other hand, I think the reverse is entirely possible. I think we finally, there's a chance we see just a rookie. I think it'll be unfair to kill him if you're thinking about killing him because he has a bad game this weekend. I think that would be dumb.
Yeah, Mike.
I think what we see is a rookie show up. I think the big thing that's going to happen, and I just think on an X's and O's point, I really was impressed, and I know this isn't new news, but I really was impressed with the Eagles in the trenches this past weekend. I really thought that their offensive line is incredibly impressive.
I mean, I'll say this. I love how they've given Saquon the keys to the car, so to speak.
Yeah. I think he's going to eat this weekend, dude.
And yeah, as he should. He better, especially if Jalen Hurts is throwing for 130. And same thing. Let me make this clear too, because people put this narrative out there that one's better than the other. Because I'm like, listen, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts had the same type of numbers this weekend, and they both won. So one performance should be put over the other.
I made the point that Jayden Daniels is the 4th best QB left in the playoffs, and I think that you have to say that that's true. Like, I think that you could start to make the case between him and Hurts, but it's not really fair, is it? Because of the amount of things that Hurts has done in the playoffs already.
It's closer than people think. I'll say that. But
he is the 4th best, right? He's just based on body work. It's not his fault.
Just by default, right? You want to say he's at 5. Like, that's not a knock on him. And if he does hear that, he should take it personal.
Sure, you can become not.
As a competitor, you should absolutely say, "Well, you guys ain't better than me," or the guy that across from me, number 1, ain't better than me.
I'll say this: he has a chance to become the 2nd best quarterback in the Super Bowl this weekend. So you become that. It didn't matter that you were the 4th best guy in the conference championship round, right?
Exactly. So that to me would be awesome. But yeah. It's been awesome to see that transformation with him throughout the season. So yeah,
it's been fun to watch for sure. It makes me nervous that he's the guy to come out of that draft. I'm hoping that the rare truth happens that there's 2, and you're hoping that there's 2 that came out of that draft, and we're both collectively hoping there's 3.
Hoping there's 3. Yeah, no, let's hope there's 3.
Right. Let's hope it's 3. Let's put our hands together and pray for the future of all of our organizations and our quarterbacks. I'll give you, because I think the Commanders can score, but I think that in playoff situations, I think that and against elite offenses and the way that Saquon's playing, and there's, as much as we might say there's a little bit of magic about what the Commanders are doing, I think that the Eagles have their own sort of bag of pixie dust with what Saquon's looked like this year, with the context of how he came into the league, with how sick to their stomachs Giants fans must be on a weekly basis, because it's just history making. If he goes and he gets them to a Super Bowl, and it would be him, make no mistake about it. I don't discredit Jalen Hurts, and I agree with you that I completely take your point that he is having good games, but the special player on that offense is absolutely Saquon Barkley. And, I'll die on that hill. I'm just watching it play out, man. That's just what I'm watching. And I'm not taking anything away from Hurts or that offensive line or anything. He's fucking special, man. And I think what I wouldn't be surprised to see happen as far as my prediction goes is that it's a real shootout. It's a really high scoring game. The defense's wheels come off almost immediately. The Eagles maybe just can't deal with the mobility and the point guardedness and the really already great decision-making of Jayden Daniels. He plays great. He puts up, I'm going to give him 38, and I'm going to say the Eagles win 47-38, because I think that Saquon eats. I know it's a divisional game. I know that that's very unlikely. I know that it's much more likely to be a 14-10. I know it's an elite playoff game, but I think the wheels might just come off and it might get crazy. As far as the other game goes, I really think we're going to be in the 20s with both teams. I think it's going to be close. I'm giving you a 27-24 Buffalo Bills.
Okay. All right.
Being hopeful. What do you got for that other game?
Oh no, remember I was joking. I was like, it's either gonna be 20-3 Chiefs or 30.
Yeah, which one?
Or 31-28 Chiefs. So just for the sake of argument, I'll say it's gonna be 31-28 Chiefs.
Great.
And then I got Commanders 28-21.
Great. I love that we're on record. I'm excited to watch this weekend's games and chat with you on our fun podcast Discord channel. Please do follow us on wherever you get your social media, including TikTok, which is back, and we are on there. And there's a lot of you that have followed us on TikTok.
Thanks, Craig. We're viral. Follow us, baby.
Thank you for the follows on TikTok. Glad you're back. Whoever our overlords are, I'm happy to bow down in submission. Just pump those numbers in. Thank you guys so much for listening. Can't wait for another great weekend of football. Thank you for listening and missing the point.
Hi, I'm Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. What did you do on your last Saturday night?
Did you hear something?
Toilet paper.
There's nada. The reserves have gone dry. People are hoarding it. I should have done that.
They're all out of hand sanitizer at my Target.
Mark, when did you last watch the news?
We are getting reports of forced quarantines in China, Japan, and now Italy.
You're cutting onions in half and putting them around your apartment.
Yes, exactly. It kills the COVID.
Excuse me?
Let's go, get in.
Vamos, rápido.
Have you ever driven one of these?
Never.
I'll drive, ladies.
I've got the keys.
Excuse me, I'm lost. I'm looking for my wife. I got turned around.
Join me, Eric Roberts, Jennifer Elise Cox, and Ed Asner for The Last Saturday Night, an Electricast podcast. You'll love it. Electricast. Electricast.